Look, starting an Amazon FBA business can be super exciting, right? But unfortunately, a lot of new sellers do fall into common traps. So that's why in this video, I'm gonna break down the 5 most common mistakes new Amazon wholesalers make and how you can avoid them. And trust me, I've been there, and after selling over $2 million in total sales since 2021, I've only got here and learned from all the mistakes and mishaps that I made. And I made the classic mistake of having too much inventory that was not good and was just sitting there, making too many calls, wasted emails to suppliers that never got back. And in reality, I realized I was making the same rookie mistakes over and over again, but yet no one talks about it. So if you're serious about Amazon FBA wholesale or in the trenches right now, this video is for you. Mistake 1, not negotiating and leaving money on the table. So the reason this is number 1, because a lot of sellers do leave money on the table, and this is the lowest hanging fruit when you are trying to work out a deal with a supplier or distributor, because guess what, they expect you to negotiate. They get negotiation things every single time when someone's looking to purchase, especially in bulk, right? So you want to think of that as your advantage and a reason to negotiate, whether that's better pricing on the product itself because you're buying XYZ amount of quantity, right? But most people don't even consider that you can actually negotiate, shipping or freight of the product itself, right? Like, it doesn't just come in there for free. It's not like a retail store. So that is something you can actually negotiate. And I didn't learn this when, my first few deals, which is fine because that's why you're watching this video. And if I could go back and tell myself when I was first getting into Amazon FBA wholesale, it's just to have that mentality, which is crazy because my background is I was selling cars, and I was, people were negotiating me and I didn't get upset with it. That was the reason people negotiated cars, because they wanted the best deal in terms of the car that they were trying to buy. So that should have came naturally for me, which I completely forgot about, and that was my own fault until I learned later, like, wait, I could do this. Like, I could negotiate for a better pricing. But again, it's not natural for all of us, right? Especially maybe it's not something you're comfortable with and stuff like that. But great news, we have AI technology nowadays like ChatGPT that can help us craft the perfect email, perfect negotiator out there for the supplier, distributor you are dealing with. Ideally you want to get them on the phone, so it's just easier, but you don't have to. People email nowadays, but definitely don't forget to negotiate. It could be little things. If the supplier distributor are not moving on the price, right? You tried your opportunity or as much as you can, try to negotiate the freight deal or the deal after. Try to ask of what other products are they looking to move. Maybe you can negotiate on that and work on better deals. Of course, if it's your first time, you want to test the water. You don't want to just lowball them in the beginning. But if you've been building up the relationship, this is really key, is to slowly push and see how far you can get in terms of negotiating. It does not hurt to ask. And what's the worst thing, right? They say no, or no, we can't do that, but at least you had tried. There's no such thing as like, oh, what if, right? Because I did that. It's like, dang, I knew I could have gotten a better price because this is the price they'd given me now. Imagine the 2 or 3 past orders I've done, which I could have gotten a better price. So definitely do not forget and do not be scared to negotiate and leave that money on the table. That's your money. And guys, I'm not the biggest negotiator out there. I'm pretty naturally introverted, regardless of how I'm making this YouTube video. But even if it's little as like, 5%, 10%, 15%, if you're doing thousands of dollars in order for wholesale, these things do add up. Mistake number 2 is going way too hard in the beginning. So this kind of feels about like if you are, first getting excited into Amazon FBA, you're excited to get some sales, but we always forget on the overall view picture, right? It's not always butterflies and rainbows, but we kind of get tunnel vision and just see the end result we want, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. We all want to like manifest things. It's all going to work out and stuff like that. But in reality, things do happen, if you go into Twitter and stuff like that, I never got into Twitter, but I like to lurk here and there. But these guys are going like Chad scaling, right? They're maxing out their credit cards off this one product. So it's pretty much equivalent like going to a casino, you know, where you pretty much throw everything you have and bet it on black or bet it on red, and you're just gonna solve all your problems. But the smartest approach with this is to approach it like a real business where, you know, what if things can go wrong? What is, you know, plan B, right? It's not always burn the bridge and go there. That's like the worst advice, where, you know, you should just quit your job and jump into this full-time Amazon FBA. What I would suggest is, you know, of course, slowly transition. And it's the same thing here. Going too hard, maxing out your credit cards and all this stuff could have real consequences. If you're new, you don't even know what you're doing, right? There's sales rank, there's, you know, ungating you got to do. Some people, new sellers, is just so unfortunate that they buy X amount of product and they could not get approved, and now they're stuck with the products, right? And I can relate this myself, where, you know, it was a rookie mistake. Again, we're all gonna make this mistake, but just keep an eye on it, where you buy and you get aggressive with certain products, right? And you buy, you know, more quantity than what is shown in the data. Maybe it's 50 sales per month, 100, 200, whatever it may be. We tend to buy double or triple because we overestimate a lot of things and only seeing what we want the results, and we're not, you know, we just tend to forget the other consequences or things that can happen, whether there's damage, that's return, that's lost inventory. A lot of these things sometimes don't check out within our calculations, and we just, again, as I mentioned, overestimate. You know, other thing, the biggest downfall in terms of wholesale is, you know, having that much inventory is when the price goes down, right? Which we're gonna lead us to the next mistake, number 3. But yeah, don't go too hard, because if I didn't buy too much inventory, what I had bought these cameras, right? Which I didn't realize, and I was still learning, that these cameras were disposable. So meaning they were only hot during the summer, spring season, where you can use them, where people are traveling, you know, they wanted to go out there outdoors, and by the time, you know, fall comes in or winter, there wasn't much demand. So I kind of went through my head and ordered a bunch of them. Then 2 years later, I was still selling them because I didn't realize they were only quote unquote seasonality type product, which kind of affected my cash flow. By the way, guys, if you've been finding value in this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, because it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to learn more about Amazon FBA. And speaking of cash flow, that's mistake number 3 right here, which is poor cash flow management. And guys, there's a study that's showing that us humans are just so bad at overestimating things, but yet still we do, right? It's just crazy how it is. But, you know, this includes of how fast an item sells or how much profit we can make, not realizing, you know, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for our items to check into Amazon's warehouse if we're doing FBA. And throughout that 2 or 3 weeks, you know, a lot of things change, right? The price could have changed. You could have had more competition. Amazon's thing could have changed overnight. There's a lot of things going on. So us overestimating and again, seeing just the end result can really affect regarding our cash flow. And here's what I mean. Number 1, you don't have a plan, which a lot of new Amazon sellers just want to get rich quick, fast. So they put everything on that product and not being diversified, meaning they don't get any sales until that product hits, or if anything does happen. So that's already a bad plan to begin with. Number 2, there's no breathing room in terms of the business. And I've mentioned about this breathing room, which really saved my business, because if I didn't have, like, for example, a 0% credit card when I first started, I wouldn't have scaled as fast as I can. I wouldn't have chance to recover from my mistakes, where I was buying just bad inventory because I was still learning about, you know, sales rank or competition and stuff like that. So the 0% credit card really helped. And what also helped me by not going too hard, I was more on the conservative side, which again, in hindsight, it was a blessing 2020, because back then I was like, oh, I wish I could spend more. I wish I could buy more inventory and stuff like that. But again, it all worked out, which was nice. But the last thing you want is always worrying about how you're going to pay off that credit card that you just had maxed out because you made a mistake of going too hard, Now your cash flow is screwed. So now you got to think of how you can run the business. And this is where the biggest pitfall and scariest pitfall for a lot of new sellers is not learning to manage their cash flow. They don't even keep track of anything. And the easiest way to do this, I mentioned in my previous video, is to just have a Google sheet, right? List out all the credit cards you have or cash in hand, how much inventory you have on Amazon and stuff like that, and just calculate, like, based on when the payment is due, are you going to have enough? You know, you have to keep in mind as well that Amazon's 2-week cycle payment that doesn't come every day, right? It's not a daily payout you get immediately. Some older accounts do get it, but if you're a new seller, most likely you're going to have to wait for that cycle period for your items to check in, to sell, then eventually you get your money. And to solve all of this as well, is if you are working with a supplier or a distributor, my biggest tip is to ask them if they have a term loan available, right? And a term loan can be, a 30-day net, a 60-day net, a 90-day net. Is basically just whenever you decided to make the purchase, let's say, the first of the month, you have 30 days if you have a net 30 term with the supplier, or if you have a net 60, then you have 60 days to pay it off. Same thing if you have a 90-day. So keep in mind, these can help offset, having a nice cash flow. Another one of my favorite strategy is to use the American Express Plum card that naturally has a 60 days for you to pay it off, as long as you pay off the minimum. That's the caveat for it, but you have 60 days technically to pay off the full amount of that card, which is nice and allows you to give you the breathing room. Mistake number 4 is to holding into your precious inventory. My gosh, this has always been a favorite. Common mistakes for everyone, so don't fret if this happens to you, especially if you're brand new. And we just get attached to our inventory. I remember when it happened to me, Q4, I was shopping and buying inventory for seasonality like Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. Then I realized after I was so into the weeds and trenches that, I didn't want to lower my price because I'm going to be losing money, right? Even though I only had like 15 or 20 units left, which is crazy looking back at this. Again, guys, rookie mistake. Now you're learning about it, is, just to liquidate it, because in an ideal world, everything can go back up in price, right? But simply things just happen. That was the reality of it. It was a seasonality Christmas product that, it only comes once a year during Q4 Christmas season. So mistake there is, if I had just sold it, January, I would have maybe break even or maybe lost, $3-4 per item. No big deal. But I was so attached to it, maybe you are with your items currently, that I sold it a couple months later and I was losing like $10. Oh my God, it was so painful. So definitely don't hang on to your inventory too long, because it can affect, with your cash flow, right? It's going too hard. All of these kind of, it's just like a Jenga thing. When you pull thing, the whole thing crashes down. So try to avoid, some of these mistakes in general. So my tip here to solve it is to just, liquidate it. As painful it can be, especially if you're in the beginning, is just part of the game, right? Unfortunately, you make bad buys, things happen in the market, competition, price, so on and so forth. But to really put like a bumper in there, think of like your bowling, right? If you're not a good bowler, you're gonna want to put the bumpers, and you still somehow get a strike if you're lucky, or you might get a few pins here and there. But you want to have a bumper of, setting your limit into like maybe 60 days, 90 days, and just try to move and liquidate your inventory there. Because what I've learned is it's better for you to lose a few bucks or break even, and it gives you opportunity to get your money back, to purchase better inventory in the future. And hopefully you learn from that mistake. And that's how we build our skill of better decision making, right? Better at analyzing leads, and just better overall with view of the products. Like when I was starting out, I started with used books, right? Everyone knows this, but then I went into baby products thinking that was the next thing. Didn't work. I went into toys. I started buying big, bulky products. Wasn't my thing. then eventually, you know, you find your own niche here and there. You know, I started into apparel, shoes, beauty products, and, you know, kind of worked out a little bit and found my way. But yeah, don't definitely make the mistakes of holding your inventory for too long. It's just going to hurt you. It's better to just sell it at a loss, move on, get the money back, reinvest, rinse and repeat. All right, last mistake, number 5 here for new wholesalers is not vetting the supplier or distributor properly. And this can lead you to serious trouble, such as getting your whole Amazon account deactivated for having, you know, fake products. That's like the worst case scenario because you didn't do your due diligence, right? And this had happened recently, the past year and a half, with a lot of Amazon sellers that gets, you know, lured into all these like automation, right? Like we'll do everything for you there, not realizing they're buying from sketchy distributors, gray area market that have, you know, no proof of providing, you know, proper supply chain, that they bought it from manufacturer, approved distributor, so on and so forth, right? It was just, you know, either stolen goods, fake. There's a lot of gray, sketchy things out there if you really look at it. You know, WhatsApp group, Telegram group, anything. As a rule of thumb, I'm going to give you guys here, anything that you get with like an actual ASIN and Amazon link and someone's trying to sell that to you, definitely run, avoid, because most like you got to ask these questions like, why aren't they selling it themselves if they already know about Amazon, right? They know this exact ASIN of the product, how much profit you're going to make. Why not make money themselves, right? Like, why are they selling it to others? So you kind of just have to ask these questions sometimes and kind of take a step back. It's like, you know, kind of common sense at the same time. So yeah, not all suppliers are created equal in that way. And an easy way to vet your distributor suppliers nowadays is, you know, we have this wonderful thing called Google, right? You can do a simple search. Do they have a social media presence? Do they have a physical store that you can use, you know, Google Maps? If it's local, why don't you drive there, check it out, talk to the people. If they're a different state or something, give them a call. You know, these are little things that could go a long way in terms of just working with them, and just little things like that, guys. Just take a minute or two to just make sure they are real. You know, we do this already. Like, we're natural with this when we're looking at hotels, for example, or, you know, the place we're gonna stay vacation at, or the Airbnb. We look at the reviews, right? Like, it's there. So why not? It's nothing different. It's doing the same thing. Like, it's just gonna be, you know, gonna work out. And if you do call them, do they sound like a normal person? Do they sound sketchy? I mean, guys, trust your gut here and make the right decision and common sense. So yeah, guys, those are the 5 common mistakes new wholesalers make on Amazon, and hopefully you can avoid them by simply not doing any of those, right? So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any question, comment down below. And don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter. Link is down below. Go straight directly to your inbox. And guys, if you want to learn more about Amazon FBA Wholesale, click this video right here. Thank you so much. Catch you in the next one. Peace.